Hello there, and a very warm welcome to this special guide which has been put together for you by the brilliant team at Pro Tax Accountant. Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk you through exactly how you can claim tax relief on your UK job expenses. And look, the goal here is really simple. We want to make sure you know what you are rightfully owed and, more importantly, how to get that money back from HMRC. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's kick things off with a massive number, shall we? £44 million. In just the first 3 months of 2025, HMRC refunded over £44 million in overpaid tax. And get this, that was just to pensioners. It's a tiny fraction of the total amount being overpaid all across the country. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of that is your money? Are you one of the millions who's unknowingly leaving cash on the table?
So, to make sure you can get your hands on everything you're entitled to, we've broken this guide down into 5 really clear parts. We'll start by figuring out if you're even overpaying tax in the first place. Then we'll run through a checklist of what you can actually claim for. After that, we'll dive into the specific ways to claim if you're an employee versus self-employed. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the most important part, getting your money back.
Right, Section 1. Let's tackle that big question head-on. Are you overpaying tax? You know, in the current 2025/26 tax year, with the cost of everything going up, getting a handle on this is more important than ever. The current economic climate has kind of created a perfect storm where more and more people are paying extra tax without even realizing it.
Now, the main reason for this is something called fiscal drag. It sounds a bit complicated, but honestly, the idea is pretty simple. The government has frozen the income levels for tax bands all the way until 2028. What does that actually mean for you? Well, it means that even a small pay rise, you know, the kind that's just meant to keep up with inflation and doesn't even feel like a proper raise, could be enough to push you into a higher tax bracket. Suddenly, you're paying a much bigger chunk of tax. In fact, this has already pulled an extra 400,000 people into the 40% tax band this year alone.
So why does this table matter? Well, it's actually really important because your tax rate is what decides how much money you get back on your expenses. For most people in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, it's pretty straightforward. For every single pound you spend on a valid expense, you get either 20p or 40p back in your pocket. Now, if you look over at Scotland, you'll see they've got different bands. So if you're a Scottish taxpayer earning, say, 60 grand, you're actually in a 42% band. That means you get 42p back for every pound. It might seem like a small difference, but trust me, it really adds up over a year's worth of expenses.
And here's a quick pro tip for you, something you can do literally right now. Go grab your latest payslip and find your tax code. For almost everyone, in this 2025-26 tax year, it should say 1257L. That little code tells your boss that you get the standard £12,570 tax-free. If that code is wrong, especially if you're on an emergency code like BR or 0T, it means you're being taxed on every single pound you earn with no tax-free allowance at all. You could be overpaying by hundreds, maybe even thousands of pounds over the year and not even know it.
Okay, so now that we have an idea of why you might be overpaying, let's get into the practical stuff, your expense claim checklist. We're going to break down what you can actually claim for, and I'll bet there are a few in here you might have missed.
First up, uniforms, clothing, and tools. If you have to wear and wash a branded uniform or any specialist work clothing, we're talking a nurse's scrubs, a chef's whites, or a construction worker's high-vis gear, you can claim a flat rate of £60 a year for laundry costs. And the best part? You don't even need to keep receipts for it. For some jobs, like mechanics who have to buy their own tools, there are other flat rate allowances too, some going all the way up to £140 a year. It's all designed to be super simple and save you a ton of paperwork.
Next up is travel. Now, if you use your own car for work journeys, and listen, this is really important, this means driving to a temporary workplace or to meet a client, not your daily commute to your main office, you can claim 45 pence per mile for the first 10,000 miles. After that, it's 25 pence a mile. But the absolute crucial point here is keeping records. HMRC is really strict on this. You absolutely must keep a detailed mileage log with the date, the reason for the trip, and the start and end postcodes. A simple spreadsheet or a free app on your phone makes this totally painless.
Working from home has obviously become a big thing, and yes, there is an allowance for it. You can claim a flat rate of £6 a week, that's £312 a year, to cover the extra costs like heating and electricity. But the key word here, the one you really need to pay attention to, is required. You can only claim this if your employer has formally told you that you have to work from home, even if it's just for part of the week. If you're on a hybrid setup where you just choose to work from home a couple of days a week, then unfortunately you can't claim this one.
And please don't forget about professional fees. If you pay for a subscription to a professional organization that is essential for your job and it's on HMRC's special approved list, you can claim tax relief on the whole amount. This could be for groups like the ACCA for accountants or the Nursing and Midwifery Council for nurses. It's so often overlooked, but it's such a valuable claim that basically rewards you for being a professional.
And this story just illustrates the point perfectly. Take Sarah, a client from Bristol. For 4 years, she'd completely overlooked the $60 flat-rate uniform cleaning allowance. That added up to $240 in expenses she hadn't claimed. Since she's a 20% taxpayer, she got a rebate of $48. Now, that might not sound life-changing, but seriously, imagine finding 50 quid down the back of the sofa you didn't know you had. It's proof that these small, consistent claims really do add up. It's your money, after all.
Right. Now you know what you can claim, let's get into the how. Specifically, how you do it if you're an employee on the payee system. I promise the process is pretty straightforward once you know the steps.
Okay, so for any expenses under £2,500 in a tax year, you've got two main choices. HMRC now has a great digital service which lets you make your claim online and upload your proof, like receipts and mileage logs, straight from your computer. It's usually quicker, you get instant confirmation they've got it, and you often get your refund faster. But hey, if you prefer the old school way, the paper P87 form is still there for you to print, fill out, and pop in the post.
So the whole thing really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, get your paperwork together. That's your P60, which shows your total pay and tax, plus all your receipts and logs. A little pro tip, start a folder for this stuff at the beginning of the tax year. It'll save you a headache later. Second, add up all your expenses. And third, submit your claim, either using the online portal or by sending off that P87 form. Just one thing to note, if your total expenses are over £2,500 in 1 year, you will need to register for self-assessment to make your claim.
And if you want to see the real power of a properly logged claim, just look at Bob. He's a delivery driver from Leeds. For an entire year, he had no idea he could claim for the 8,000 business miles he drove in his own van between different depots. At 45p a mile, that's an expense claim of £3,600. Because he's a basic rate taxpayer, he got 20% of that back as a tax rebate, which is a whopping £720 straight into his bank account. That is a proper game changer, and it just shows you how much you could be missing out on.
Let's switch gears for a moment and talk to all of you who are self-employed, whether you're a freelancer, a contractor, or a sole trader. For you guys, the process is different, but honestly, it can be even more powerful. You don't get a refund on tax you've already paid. Instead, you deduct your expenses from your profits before tax is even worked out, which lowers your final tax bill.
Now for the self-employed, the absolute golden rule you need to live by is that an expense must be wholly and exclusively for your business. This is HMRC's #1 principle. So for example, if you buy a new laptop and you use it 80% of the time for work and 20% for watching Netflix, you can only claim for 80% of the cost. The same goes for your mobile phone bill. You have to work out a fair and reasonable percentage for your business use and claim only that part. You've got to apportion it.
As a sole trader, you get a choice. For some expenses, you can use what are called simplified expenses. These are just flat rates for things like mileage or using your home as an office. It means a lot less paperwork and easier maths. The other option is to claim the actual costs of everything. This means keeping meticulous records of every single bill and receipt, but it could lead to a much bigger deduction if your costs are high. You can even mix and match. Use the simplified rate for your mileage, but claim the actual costs for your home office.
And here's a perfect example of why picking the right method really matters. Jamal is a self-employed carpenter from London. He'd been using simplified expenses for a while, but 1 year he invested £2,500 in some new specialist power tools for a big job. By switching to claim the actual cost of this equipment, he massively reduced his taxable profit for the year, saving himself an extra £500 in tax. It just goes to show, it really pays to review your options every single year.
Here's a quick Did You Know section for all you self-employed folks with some fantastic deductions that often get missed. Did you know you can claim for training that updates your existing professional skills? Or that you can deduct a bad debt if a client just doesn't pay you? And this one is amazing. You can even claim for relevant business expenses that you paid for up to 7 years before you officially started trading. That covers all those initial startup costs.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. So let's pull it all together in our final section and make absolutely sure you know exactly what your next steps are to get your money back where it belongs.
All right, so here are the crucial points to remember. First, check your tax code is 1257L. Second, keep good records of every single business expense. Third, if you're an employee with claims under £2,500, use that P87 form or the online service. Fourth, if you're self-employed, you deduct your costs directly from your profits. And finally, don't forget about those simple flat rates for things like uniform laundry and working from home. They are absolute easy wins.
But what if your situation isn't that simple? You know, what if you're trying to juggle a paid job with a self-employed side hustle? Or maybe you've got rental income to think about. Or maybe you're just worried about making a mistake and getting a letter from HMRC.
Look, when things get complicated, it's always best to let the experts handle it. The team at ProTax Accountant, they specialize in exactly this. They can look at your unique situation and make sure you claim every single penny you're entitled to, giving you total peace of mind and, of course, the biggest possible refund. You can reach out to them today on WhatsApp or by phone on 07985 689912, or you can drop them an email at info@protaxaccountant.co.uk. Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this guide helpful, make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel for even more expert tips on managing your money.